The Empress. A young woman will arrive.
Sandy! Sandy! Where are you? Sandy!
There will be violence and destruction. The devil. La mort. Death.
O Baphomet, go to MENDEZ. Accept this sacrifice from your loyal slave.
Hi. I'm sorry I couldn't finish Slaves and Mendez in the way that I originally envisaged it. That was due to circumstances beyond my control, namely the fact that Ian Ernest Redman, who was the film's producer, star, co-writer, decided to pursue his own career, and he left us to complete it without him. But don't worry, the film's not going to end now. What I'm going to do is going to show you a documentary about this enigma, Ian Ernest Redman. And then, after that, we're going to see the rest of Slaves and Mendez, which has been, the script has been changed somewhat, but I hope you'll still enjoy it. This documentary, which I'll call the Ian Redman story, was filmed over a period of 3 years. Some of it was employed hidden cameras, and some of it is using Ian Redman's own Super 8 footage. I hope you like it. Okay, run the film.
He was a ginger-haired action hero with a curly perm. Driven by the desire to be the next Bruce Lee, Ian Redman, a travel agency worker, would set out to produce a series of ambitious Super 8mm martial arts movies. However, filmmaking requires both commitment and professionalism. But Ian was neither committed nor professional. This is his story. Born Ian Ernest Redman, Ian grew up in the small village of Davenham in Cheshire. As a child, he was obsessed with weapons and warfare. His dream was to set up his own army, Ian Redman's army, until he realised that the initials IRA had already been taken. After leaving school, Ian worked for a travel agency in Northwich. It provided a steady income and the opportunity to finance his first major passion, to be the lead singer in a rock band. Suitable opportunities in Northwich proved slim, yet Dave Moran, founder member of local band The Air, was the first to spot Ian's potential.
I had this vision of forming a smashed out cabaret band on psilocybin. And then I thought, well, I needed a lot of oddballs to sort of perform in the band. And that's when I, started to form The Air. At that time, I thought, well, I need someone original, so I decided to have Ian Redman as the front man. I thought it was quite original, really, having someone singing with ginger hair. We did a few gigs at that stage, and Andy filmed these, the first Air gigs. Later on, though, Ian sort of got delusions of grandeur and he left The Air, and he went on to form his own bands. And this is when he went through what I call his guitar stage, where he used to just buy loads and loads of guitars, feverishly. Sometimes he'd send them to work, sometimes I'd have to keep them at my house, sometimes he'd hide them under the bed. And I'd say altogether he went through something like 30 guitars. At this stage he formed a band with a brilliant bass player called Alan Brown. I always thought Ian was a much better singer than he was a guitar player. He did a gig, I remember, at the Winsford, at the Salter in Winsford, and I went down with Egg Bass and Jammy Jums, and we watched the gig, and it was, they were really playing to the wrong audience, sort of thing. So many people were walking out. Ian used to come up to me and tell me all these sort of weird things like, oh, we've got a tour of Blackpool, or oh, we're going to make a record, and we've been spotted by this fella who chews a big fat cigar. You didn't know which sort to believe at all. I never really thought that his band was as good as The Air. Mind you, I don't know a band that is. But the way Ian used to make out, he used to get carried away with things. And then he started buying things like synthesizers, going off the idea of a group. He wanted to make more tapes with me. He'd made tapes before with me when he was about, 13, something like that. No, I think I was about 11 at the time. And these were really the basis of his musical career. They were avant-garde sort of things, using bongo drums and spoons, not real instruments. They made a lot of tapes around that time as well, sort of plays and weird things really, musicals and that sort of thing. I remember doing one called Nolliver, it was a really good one. And Ian always seemed to get into them. And when it came to performing them live though, there was sort of a bit of a flop. We got disenchanted with the audiences, things like that.
Following the untimely death of martial arts legend Bruce Lee and release of his first Hollywood movie Enter the Dragon, the UK in the 1970s witnessed a sudden explosion of all things martial arts. Fascinated by the mythology surrounding Bruce Lee, Ian threw as much money as he could into collecting Lee memorabilia. In fact, his bedroom soon became a shrine to the late martial artist. Deciding to be more proactive, Ian joined Bob Brown's local Atemi Jitsu club, from where he began his progression through the coloured belt system, often appearing in the local newspaper. Every day he could be seen jogging, keeping himself fit in readiness for his next martial arts tournament. He then decided to purchase a Super 8mm camera and lots of film stock. Ian Redman was going to be the producer and star of his own martial arts movies. Teaming up with local filmmaker Andrew Barker, production began on the first in a series of films with Ian Redman as lead and fellow Atemi Jitsu black belt Mark Newham in a supporting role. Shot in 1979, Running with the Devil was intended as a James Bond action thriller with kung fu fights thrown in for good measure. But despite the ambitious plot, only a handful of fight scenes were ever filmed. However, everyone parted on good terms because an even more ambitious movie was about to go before the cameras. This time involving witchcraft, human sacrifices, an investigative journalist and a group of Satan-worshipping martial artists. Principal photography on Slaves and Mendez began in the summer of 1980, with scenes depicting the ritual sacrifice of a young female. Ian Redman was cast this time as the villain, the leader of an occult society. A local news reporter, played by Rob Barrow, sets out to investigate her disappearance, exploring the then half-derelict Vale Royal Abbey. He witnesses and obtains photographic evidence of an occultist martial arts training session, although he is soon warned off by a mysterious hooded figure who tries to run him down. Mark Newham was cast as the hero, with scenes being filmed of him discovering Rob's ransacked home, and Rob himself murdered as a ritual sacrifice. During most of these scenes, Ian Redman was left with the mundane task of slating the shots. But as the production continued, Ian's commitment to the project began to falter. It became harder and harder to arrange filming sessions, and Ian raised concerns with director Andrew Barker that several cast members were fed up with the project and didn't want to continue. This, of course, was untrue. With Ian Redman not wishing to continue with the project, Slaves and Mendez ceased production in 1981, with Ian handing over all his Super 8mm footage. Left with only a part-finished film, Andrew decided to create a completely new storyline featuring original cast member Rob Barrow whilst utilising some of the existing footage. On the 31st of July 1983, the final scenes of Slaves and Mendez were filmed to tie together the original footage with the new story concept. Director Andrew Barker had these final thoughts about working with Ian on Slaves and Mendez.
All I can say now, having looked back on the 5-year epic, is that I'm glad I've not got to work with Ian bloody Ernest Redman again. Well, that was Ian Redman's story, and those were some of the reasons why I couldn't finish the original Slaves of Mendez. What you're about to see is a film that I did a few years later with Rob Barrow, who was one of the few people that was with me at the start of Slaves of Mendez, and Kath Griffiths. It's a story which is made up from several sequences from the original Slaves of Mendez.
Have you recently been suffering from stress or depression?
No, I haven't.
And you haven't been prescribed any drugs, sleeping tablets, sedatives, that sort of thing?
Not recently, no, not in the last couple of weeks.
Now, will you tell me about the appearance of the hooded figure?
Yeah. Well, I was coming home from work the usual way, and it was just there in front of me. I don't know where it came from, just standing there. And I slammed the brakes on, and I got out of the car, and it was gone, disappeared, nowhere.
And this was the first time you saw the figure, was it?
No, it was the second time. The first time was in the precinct, shopping. It was just there. I don't know where it came from.
What was going through your mind as you ran?
Oh, I don't know, feeling of being in a confined space and I had to escape, headaches, dizziness.
Go on.
Well, I just felt as though people were staring at me, as I was threatened.
Have you ever felt this way before?
No, not really.
I see.
But I have been having a lot of headaches recently.
I see. Well, the confusion may be a result of stress at work. It could account for the headaches. Could you take a couple of weeks off work?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'd recommend. Complete rest. Try and get out into the country. possible that the hooded figure could represent somebody that you feel threatened by? Is there anyone you know who might want to harm you?
No. Other than you, no.
Me? I don't want to hurt you.
I know, I was only joking.
You blacked out after you last saw the figure, didn't you?
Yes, that's right.
And you were treated for shock.
Yes, I was kept in overnight for tests at the hospital. The doctor said I had a weird dream, and the doctor said it was a reaction to the sedatives.
It's very unusual.
Yes, I had a really weird dream. Dreamt of a ball rolling down a hill and weird colours, and then a hooded figure standing over me and raised a knife, and then a cold stream against my throat, and then the colours again. That was it.
Have you had the dream since?
No, it was just the once.
Well, it's getting late now, but I think I ought to see you again soon.
Yeah.
Would next Tuesday be convenient?
Yeah, that's fine. What time?
About 4 o'clock?
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
Right, thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.